Athens, 2000. A family home behind a low gate, a child's window, morning light, the most ordinary picture in the world. Then it freezes. It's a photograph. Across the street, a man in a parked car lowers his lens. A target package. The cell has killed before and never been caught. The target, a decorated CIA officer. Weeks later, they murder his neighbor in his place. His name is John Kiriakou. He survives the men hunting him abroad. He flies into Pakistan after September 11th. He helps capture Al-Qaeda's number 3. He becomes the agency's golden son. 10 awards. Principal briefer to the president. Then he makes one choice and the agency turns on one of its own. He refuses to be trained to torture. He goes on national television and says the word, "No one will say torture." He becomes the only officer ever caged over the program. The torturers walk free. The architect runs the agency. Today, he's everywhere. How does one man declare war on the CIA? And who actually wins when it is over? To understand why one man is willing to declare war on the CIA, you must understand how completely the CIA was, for a long time, his entire world. It begins in a college classroom. A bright graduate student at George Washington University is asked by a friendly professor to write about the psychological profile of his own boss. Just an academic exercise, the professor says. A way to practice the skill of reading people on paper. The student writes it. The professor reads it, nods once, and reveals what he really is. He is not just a professor. He is a CIA psychiatrist. The agency has been watching this student for months. The exercise was a test. The offer is already on the table. He says yes. He believes in it. By the late 1990s, he is in Athens, working under official cover at the United States Embassy, deep inside one of the most dangerous postings in Europe. Greece, in those years, is a hunting ground. A homegrown Marxist group calling itself 17 November has been murdering Western officials for 2 decades. They have killed CIA officers before. They have killed American military attachés. They are very good at it. And they have never been caught. You can see why the agency keeps 3 weapons in his house. Why does the car he drives is armored? Why do the children's school routes change every week? The threat is not abstract. It is a cell parked across the street with a camera and a list of names. In June of 2000, 17 November murders a senior British defense official on his commute. Same cell, same fingerprints. The officer who was supposed to be next on that list, the one the cell had built a target package for, was not the Briton. It was the American operating out of the embassy. Kiriakou survives by being slightly out of pattern that morning, by the work of an agency that knows exactly how exposed he is, and by an amount of luck nobody talks about out loud. The cost arrives quietly after the fear. Marriage does not survive the assignment. The man who was supposed to die in Athens carries that home with him and keeps working. Then comes the morning the entire world turns. The 11th of September 2001. Kiriakou walks into the agency the next day and asks for the most dangerous job they have. They give it to him. He flies into Pakistan. The agency is hunting the men behind the towers, and the most wanted of them all is a Saudi operative named Abu Zubaydah, then believed to be the number 3 man in Al-Qaeda. For months he has been a phantom on intercepts. Then in March of 2002, the agency catches a thread. 14 safe houses hit at the same instant across 2 Pakistani cities. The raid Kiriakou helps lead chaos and adrenaline in the dark. At one of the houses, a tall man is seen leaping between rooftops in his pajamas. A Pakistani officer drops him with 3 bullets. The wounded man is hauled into the back of a pickup, gut shot, bleeding out, and nobody on scene is sure they have the right man. The CIA wants identification before the prisoner dies. There are no fingerprints to match in the field. There is no usable face photograph. There is one photograph taken on another mission, of an ear. Kiriakou kneels beside the dying man on a hospital bed, lifts the hair away from the side of the head, and matches the ear to the picture. It is him, the highest-ranking Al-Qaeda figure the United States will ever take alive. A firefight erupts at the hospital that night. The prisoner, drifting in and out of consciousness, asks Kiriakou to suffocate him with a pillow. Kiriakou refuses. The agency wants this man alive more than it has ever wanted anything in its history. Back in Washington, Kiriakou is a star. 10 performance awards in a single career. The counterterrorism desk. The Iraq portfolio. He becomes the principal officer briefing the President of the United States every morning on the war. If you come here expecting a disgruntled outsider, lose the picture. The man who is about to take on the CIA is the agency's best son. The institution has been everything to him. He has bled for it and almost died for it and would do it again. Which is why, when a senior officer pulls him aside in the cafeteria one afternoon and tells him the agency wants to train him in something new, a program just being built, he listens. He does not yet know what the program is. What is the agency about asking one of its most loyal officers to do? And how does a yes destroy you only slightly slower than a no? He doesn't know what the program is yet. Neither do you. Hold that. We'll open that door in 60 seconds. But first, a quick word about how I do the research and create videos like this one, and it's also today's sponsor. It's Chat LLM by Abacus.ai. The idea is simple, every top AI model in one place. ChatGPT 5.5, Gemini 3.5, Claude Opus 4.8, Grok 4.1, DeepSeek, all of them, one tab. And you don't have to guess which one to use. Route LLM reads your prompt and automatically routes it to the best model for the job. Ask it to break down a story like this one, and it pulls from whichever model does it best. And it's not just chat. Generate images with Nano Banana Pro and Flux. Generate video with Seedance 2.0 and Kling 3.0, and yes, this is how we create the videos. Build deep researched presentations in minutes. And with Deep Agent, spin up apps, websites, chatbots, and full AI agents from a single prompt. And surprisingly, it's only about $10 a month, far cheaper than paying for multiple AI tools separately. Links in the description and the pinned comment. Now back to the cafeteria, and the one word nobody at the agency will say out loud. The program is sure. The cafeteria's offer is to send him to be trained in something the agency calls enhanced interrogation. Waterboarding, sleep deprivation, stress positions, walling, the entire menu, sanitized into a phrase you can put in a memo. He does what he always does. He thinks before he answers. He goes to a mentor he trusts, a senior officer he has worked under, and lays out the offer in plain language. The mentor's reply is cold and precise. It crosses a legal line. It crosses a moral line. If you are smart, you will say no. If you say yes, every man who walks past you in this building for the rest of your career will be quietly waiting for you to take the fall on their behalf. He says no. You think that is the end of it, a quiet declination filed and forgotten. Within 30 days, he learns it is not. A promotion he had been quietly counted in for is suddenly handed to someone else. The reason on the page is one sentence he will never forget. He has shown, the agency writes, a shocking lack of commitment to counterterrorism. A shocking lack of commitment. To the man who knelt beside Abu Zubaydah in a hospital bed in Pakistan. He leaves the CIA in 2004. He believes he is walking away clean. He believes there is a private sector and a regular life out there, and that the world will accept the version of him that does not work in classified rooms. 3 years pass, 2007, late autumn. A reporter at ABC News calls him with a question that does not feel like a question. The reporter knows things only insiders can know. Inside the agency, a few people know what Kiriakou is only beginning to suspect. The CIA has been recording the interrogations of Abu Zubaydah and others on videotape, hundreds of hours of footage, and someone at the agency has just fed those tapes through an industrial shredder on purpose, because the New York Times is about to write the story of their existence. Destruction is a crime. It needs to be buried under another crime or behind a fall guy. The ABC reporter tells Kiriakou that a senior official has named him to ABC as one of the people who carried out the interrogations. It is a lie, and Kiriakou knows it. He never touched a prisoner. He never trained in the program. He refused. The President of the United States steps in front of cameras and says it plainly. We do not torture. Kiriakou sits at home and understands exactly what is happening. The agency is going to walk away from this scandal by handing somebody to the public. He is being lined up as the handoff. His name is about to become the face of a program he refused to commit. He will go to prison for something other men did, while the men who did it stay clean. He has one move. In December of 2007, John Kiriakou agrees to go on national television. He sits in front of a camera and he says what no person inside the United States government has ever said out loud. The CIA tortured prisoners. They waterboarded Abu Zubaydah. It was authorized at the highest levels. And it was torture, not enhanced interrogation, not technique, torture. He believes he is telling the truth. He is. He is also, in the same breath, repeating the only lie he has ever been told inside the agency. He says Zubaydah cracked after a single waterboarding session of 35 seconds. That is what he has been briefed. That is what he believes. Hold on to that number. The gap between 35 seconds and what really happened will end up being the thing that proves him right and the agency wrong, but not for another 7 years. The broadcast airs. For a few weeks, he thinks he has done it. He has told the truth and survived it. Then the phone rings. A Justice Department investigation has been opened, and the man chosen to lead it is someone Kiriakou knows by face. They have worked in the same building. They have called each other colleagues. The hunter is in the family. If a story about a man who would not back down is what you came for, you already know what a subscribe does. Stay close. The war you came to see is only just starting. How do you survive being prosecuted by someone you once worked alongside? And what happens when telling the truth turns out to be the first shot in a war you did not yet know you had declared? The first investigation drags on for months and produces nothing. There is no crime to charge him with. The prosecutors send him a declination letter, the document that means the case is closed. He and his wife go out to dinner that night to celebrate. They are sure it is finished. It is not finished. A new administration arrives in Washington, and a few years later, a man named John Brennan is moved to the center of power. Brennan was a senior officer at the CIA during the years the torture program existed. He sat in the room while the memos got written. Kiriakou once worked under him. The two of them know each other's faces, voices, and families. To Brennan, Kiriakou is the man who walked onto television and named the program. To Kiriakou, Brennan is exactly the kind of person who was supposed to be in a courtroom over it. Brennan is moving toward the director's chair, and the case against Kiriakou has reopened. Now it is no longer a procedural inquiry. A reporter is later told, on the record, that a senior CIA officer has bragged that the agency is going to take Kiriakou down. The wording is exact. They are coming for him. Crimes reports stack up at the Justice Department. Subpoenas hit his emails, his phone records, and his bank accounts. They go after his old colleagues. They are searching for something, anything to charge him with. Torture is not the crime they want. They want a leak. They found one. It is small. It is years old. A reporter writing a book on the agency had once asked Kiriakou whether a name in a draft chapter belonged to a CIA officer. Kiriakou had said yes. That man was an officer. The reporter never published the name. There was no harm. There was no exposure. There was no operation compromised. But the statute used to cage spies and traitors does not care about harm. It cares about confirmation. And he is confirmed. In January of 2012, the indictment lands. 5 federal felonies. Stacked together, the charges carry up to 45 years in prison. He is 47 years old. He has 5 children. The youngest is a newborn. If they win the trial, he does not come home until his baby is in middle age, and he himself is a very old man. He is the second person in American history charged under this statute. The first was a Cold War spy who sold names to the Soviets and got people killed. Kiriakou is being charged with the same weight for a confirmation about a man who was never harmed. You should hold those 2 pictures side by side, because this is the trick the entire prosecution is built on. The agency cannot get him for what he actually said on television. The First Amendment is still there. So, they pull a technical chain out of his old conversations, call that the crime, and hand him a sentence designed to break a father before the father can fight. The trap is no win. Go to trial and risk 45 years and the orphaning of a baby and a marriage already strained to its limit. Or take a plea, accept 30 months in prison, protect the children from a longer absence, and pay for it with a permanent felony record, the loss of his career, and the loss of his pension. There is no good door. There's a bad one and a worse one. At 6 in the morning, the plea deadline closes. He signs. He cries. He calls his wife. He picks a number on the calendar where he will surrender himself to a federal prison. In the same week he signs, the United States Senate confirms a new director of the CIA. The man who takes the oath is John Brennan. One man is heading to a cell. The other is taking command of the agency that put him there. With every visible measure of power, the war is over. The CIA has won. Except for one thing. They have not yet taken the only thing they were ever really fighting for. So, what is left to fight for when you are already on your way to prison? And how do you win a war you have already, on paper, lost? His lawyer has been told it will be a minimum security camp. A converted college campus, basically. Open dorms, a library, no walls. They are telling him this so he can tell his children. Daddy is going to a place that is not too scary. When the assignment paper finally arrives, it is not the camp. It is a federal prison at Loretto in the hills of Pennsylvania, a level higher than promised. And his file has been flagged so that the warden must approve any contact with the press. The placement is a message. It is a quiet, bureaucratic shove into a corner of the system where the country cannot easily hear from him. The placement does the opposite of what it was meant to do. From inside Loretto, Kiriakou begins writing letters. Long, careful, furious letters, addressed to the world, smuggled out, posted, shared. They become a series. He calls them Letters from Loretto. They describe the prison, the agency that put him there, the men he is living among, and the strange dignity of a place where the country sends the people it would rather forget. The men he is living among are not what the country thinks they are. Italian-American convicts doing serious time for serious crimes take one look at the bookish ex-CIA officer with a soft voice and a federal target on his back and quietly fold him into their world. They eat together. They keep watching over him. They cook elaborate meals out of contraband and prison commissary in a communal bucket and laugh about the absurdity of it. You should sit with this for a second. The agency he gave his life to has put him in a cage. The men the agency would call criminals have just made him family. Outside the walls, the world refuses to forget him. A rock legend who does not normally speak about politics quietly pays off his mortgage, so his wife and children do not lose the house. Artists hold benefits. His own ethnic community organizes, sends money to the family, and makes sure the lights stay on. He should be erased. The country is instead holding him up, and the letters keep coming. What the agency wants from him is a single, small concession. It does not need to be on television. It does not need to be public. They want him to take some of it back. Soften the line he drew. Concede that maybe enhanced interrogation was a fair word for it. Maybe the program was not tortured. Maybe the lawyers got it right. He would not even have to apologize, just walk it back a little. He does not walk back into a single syllable. When the next intelligence whistleblower comes to him for advice, by letter and by visit, his counsel is brutal and practical. Do not cooperate with the Justice Department. Do not trust anyone in your old chain of command. Take nothing back. He is teaching, from inside a cell, the doctrine the agency could not break out of him. For 30 months, he refuses to be what the building wants him to be. And here is the inversion the whole story has been climbing toward. The prison was supposed to be the final blow, the thing that broke him, the thing that made him reasonable. Instead, it becomes the clearest proof he is the only character in this story who could not be made to bend. He has been stripped of his career. He has been stripped of his pension. His freedom is gone. The marriage that survived Athens and Pakistan does not fully survive the cell. He is left with one thing, and that one thing is the entire reason the agency wanted him caged in the first place. He still will not surrender. Then, in December of 2014, while he is still doing his time, a 6,000-page report is delivered to the United States Senate. It is about to read out the truth of the torture program on the floor of the chamber, in front of the country. What does it cost a system to be proven, in public, to have caged the only honest man in the room? And what happens to the lie in about 35 seconds when the country finally hears the real number? The Senate report lands on Tuesday. It is the longest, most expensive investigation in the Senate Intelligence Committee's history, and everything it says lines up with the man in a cell. Abu Zubaydah, the prisoner whose interrogation built the program, was not cracked in 35 seconds. He was waterboarded 83 times. The interrogations produced no actionable intelligence the agency did not already have through other channels. The lawyers who blessed it were given conclusions and asked to write the legal cover backwards. The destruction of the tapes was a crime. The line the CIA fed Kiriakou about a brief. Surgical session was a lie, fed to him through the official channels, repeated by him on television in good faith, used as a hammer against him for years. He had been right, every word. A few months later, in the early 2015, he walks out of Loretto. Now look at the math of who paid for the truth. Of the men who designed the program, no charges. Of the men who waterboarded prisoners, no charges. Of the lawyers who wrote the memos that made it legal on paper, no charges. Of the officer who shredded the tapes, no charges. Of the senior officers who approved every step, no charges. The architect of the program ran the agency until 2017, and then walked onto cable television to make a career out of his opinions. The only American to ever serve a day in prison over the United States torture program is the one man who refused to be trained in it and who told the country the truth about it. You are allowed to be angry. The story is. But you should also see clearly the second story underneath the injustice. The agency had 4 years to break this man. It had the Justice Department. It had a friendly press. It had a stack of statutes. It had a prison. It had everything. And it could not get him to take it back. Not on television, not on the witness stand, not in a plea agreement, not in a cell, not in 30 months, letters smuggled out under their nose. Years after his release, a quiet meeting is arranged in a hotel suite. A go-between for a presidential pardon lawyer slides across the table about the size of the price tag. $2 million. Cash. Buy back the pension. Buy back the clean record. Buy back his name in the system that took it. He laughs at their faces. He walks out. He goes home and tells the story publicly on his podcast with names. That is the man the CIA spent 4 years and a 5-felony indictment trying to make smaller. He is now on every major podcast in this country. Tens of millions of views, louder than he has ever been. The architect of the program is a disgraced talking head with a worse public reputation than the agency he ran. The torturers are forgetting names in a Senate footnote. Kiriakou is everywhere. Never beat the CIA. He was never going to. The agency is still the agency. It still has buildings, budgets, secrets, lawyers, and the prisons, with every official ledger. But the war was never about beating them. The war was about whether they could make him take it back. And they could not. They tried with a promotion denied. They tried with a leak to a reporter. They tried with a charge sheet that could have buried him for 45 years. They tried with a cell flagged for silence. They tried with the destruction of his marriage and the loss of his pension, and the years they would never give back. And on the only ground that ever actually mattered, on the question of his own surrender, he is still standing, and they are not. The lamb refused to be a lamb. The pardon never came. The men who ran the program were never punished. The war is not over, and he is still fighting it on every screen in this country. There is another man who took on the United States government with nothing but a yacht, a Twitter account, and absolutely no morals, and made 3 governments look like amateurs. He is one click away. If this story keeps you watching, there's another one that will do the same. A man wrote North Korea's operating system, invented the ideology that built the cult, tutored the future Kim Jong-il, then decided none of it was reason enough to stay, and defected, becoming the highest-ranking person ever to escape and detonate the regime from the outside. That video is on screen now.